Hey there guys, what is going on? Gale right here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freeze video, and today we're doing a should you summon on the Xenos reverse gacha banners. Now, of course, right after the anniversary we have two new banners coming out. Both have 3 units each, and they're very interesting units, right? They're not easy to judge immediately, in my opinion. I think you're going to want to use them in effect, basically, before we say anything about them. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to dive into these units and see where they will be run and stuff like that. I'll be giving you guys all the details about team compositions and such as well. Now, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, of course, for more content, and comment down below. Are you guys planning on summoning even after this video? Will you guys be summoning on these units or not? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Also, leave an iris count below. I'm curious to see how much iris you guys are at. Alright, beautiful. Let's go into these units now. So the banners are split into two, basically. We have the first banner with Aiz, Mikoto, and Rei. The second banner has Lafia, Haruhime, and Wine. Nice setup. I think they've split this up really well. I think this is probably the best way they could have split it up, in my personal opinion. I think, these units that are on Aiz's banner synergize better, while, Haruhime, Lafia, and Wine's banner is kind of mix and match, kind of, because they all do different things, right? Lafia is a single target unit, Wine's Thunder AoE, Haruhime's abilities, if I'm not mistaken, were basically around SR and Mage reduction on the opponent and getting heal on yourself and removing P-resist debuff on allies, which is cool. Again, very much also kind of AoE focus for war games, because these banners, both of these characters, I feel, or both sets of characters, primarily the ones that are for war games, they're definitely here to try and cuck you in terms of all your physical units that you pulled during the anniversary, quite literally, in my opinion. So let's look at the units, shall we? First and foremost, let's look at the Aiz. So the Aiz on her special arts is basically like any other unit, Ultra Earth Magic Attack. Then she gets Ultra Unguard Raid damage plus 90% per each self match buff, so 180% boost basically if you get 2 match buffs from your assist and her, basically, and removes foes status buffs and charm for 1 turn. Okay, very cool. Then her first skill is Raging Force, fast null physical attack times 2 and self magic and agility 70% for 4 turns, and adds 4 actions where she does mid-earth magic attack on foes and earth attack damage plus 70% for 2 turns on self. Piercing Phantom is a fast super earth magic attack with Ultra on God Raid and magic and earth res minus 35% for 3 turns and removes God Raid buffs and HP regen. Grand Edge is a single target attack with a 80% multiplier per each self match buff skill and Ultra on God Raid. I think this is a really cool unit. Very much war games focus and very much there to counter units like, Finn, Lazar, Fianna, all of these guys. Because the thing is, remember, I think in this anniversary, this is the first time in an anniversary I think we've gotten just all physical units, right? I don't think a single unit was magic focused, right? And that is nuts. So they definitely wanted to release these units to counter physical units, but also support players who run magic teams. And now this is the big point I want to make, right? When you're playing Danmachi, there's a lot of teams you can make, right? And usually when it comes to anniversary, you can build a team off of the anniversary itself. But a lot of players might like to go only magic. Some players might like to go only ailment. So they kind of got a little cut during the anniversary. I would say ailment at least got something with Helga, but otherwise everybody else was just physical, go full physical, right? So this is definitely something that they've introduced to try and help counter in war games, so that magic players aren't suffering necessarily, right? So Aiz is a unit that will definitely be on an earth or magic focused team. Now, if you were to go to war games, magic isn't weak, all right? I've been thrashed around by magic as well quite a lot, in all honesty. So if I were to go into Record Buster not Record Buster, war games right now, Record Buster is actually live. But if you go into war games right now, if I were to go look at a team, I think, if I'm not mistaken, not Pew. Yeah, Pew doesn't have it. Pew has a full-on, stall team, basically. Akanama technically has a magic team. This is very much a magic team. Yeah, it's a light-focused magic team. You've got the Ryu, you've got the Bell from the 3rd year anniversary, and you've got Althea from last year. A perfect example of a great light team. A very, very strong light team. You've got some other units like here as well, like Lake, for example. He also has a light a magic team as well here. Basically, you've got the likes of the Philvis, you've got the Eyes, you've got the Vesta, the Elia as well. If I'm not, I think that's her name. I keep forgetting if this one. No, yeah, that's Elia. I was thinking if it was if that was actually Prometheus, but no, that's Elia. So you've got a lot of units there that will work, and I think they want you to try and build an Earth magic team through, well, Eyes and Mikoto, because Mikoto does very similar things, except she's obviously a little bit more ailment focused because she does taunt on her ability. She's effectively reducing single target damage on her basically, but also on top of that she also taunts the opponent, so you're basically getting a higher chance of taking less damage because she will focus the attention on herself, right? So that's another thing you want to do. So remember, these guys will probably work together really well, in all honesty, so you might want to keep that in mind. Again, I think that's one of the best things about this banner, is that all three units will synergize together superbly, because even Ray is an allied match 25% plus penetration rate 15%. It doesn't seem much, but that's a decent enough boost, right? And you can get some good magic prowess from that, especially because her base magic stat as well is probably the highest magic stat in the game for an assist. So again, very strong set of units here. I think this banner is definitely worth it, but again, I would only say this if you have the specific Earth units or magic units, and of course if you're running ailment for Mikoto, right? Because I will say, let's go to the album actually just real quick. I'm gonna give you guys some names here which I think would work well for an Earth team, for example, right? Just as a basic Earth team. First and foremost, I would say the Galmus from this celebration. 100%, you kind of want him for this team, even though he's not a magic unit. He just does so much. This is, wait, is that the right? No, that is the right Galmus. I was about to say, is this the right Galmus? It is the right Galmus. Wait, is this the right Galmus? It is the right Galmus. I don't know why I'm struggling to see whether or not this is the right Galmus, but no, look at this guy. He gives allies physical resist plus 70%, counter rate 70%, Earth attack damage 70%, and status ailment resist 70%. He is going to be superb to help you just be able to survive the first turn, because remember, magic units inherently go slower than physical units. What your job is to ensure, well, one, you survive, and two, you're boosting your agility as much as possible while also making sure your team survives at the same time. So that's why I would say this Galmus would go in really well as a fourth unit, just as an option to basically survive, right? Another unit that would be great, because if I look at the new units we got, right? If I'm looking at Eyes specifically, as well as the if I'm looking at Eyes and Mikoto specifically, Eyes increases your agility basically, right? For herself. She increases her agility for herself. But in theory, there is nobody on the team that is reducing your agility, right? Of course, the new Wine does reduce your agility, not your agility, but the opponent's agility primarily. If you were to find her, there she is. She reduces the opponent's agility, right? If I'm not mistaken, down here in her second skill. Foes AGI minus 40%, right? You could probably use her as well. I think she would be a great option, but if you don't have it and you want to go full Earth, right, I would say the next best option is probably Lyra, actually, funnily enough, from the 3rd year anniversary. She is a little bit dated. She still has the actions, additional actions and stuff like that, but all her multipliers and stuff like that are definitely a lot lower than the average player would imagine, right? You're only getting like basically, you're not getting much here. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of it is very weak, but her ability to reduce the opponent's agility as an Earth unit is great. Now, of course, I wouldn't say this would be the best team. Of course, you probably want to try and mix and match with other elements, right? It's one of the reasons why I think that Ray is fantastic, is because you're not going to be specifically boosting any of your type damages. I think you want to try and bring in a unit like that Wine. You want to try and bring in another unit like maybe somebody who can go in hand with that team basically. So in my opinion, I think this Wine would be also not a bad option on that team, right? Just because she does so much, right, in terms of these the setup basically, in terms of helping out with the agility down and stuff like that. Of course, Mikoto also helps you increase your agility, so keep that in mind. Bear that in mind. It'll come in handy. So to me personally, these two banners, they're good banners. I would say they're very good banners, but not necessarily if you're just coming off of anniversary, you have the team set up. It's not gonna work out. Any non-paying player should not summon on this banner. You know, people who don't pay on the spend on the game or anything of that sort probably shouldn't spend on this banner, because you will be like me basically. I only have 5,000 iris. I'm not going to be able to finish off 2 banners at all. No way in hell. And on top of that, these units aren't time limited. Well, this is the funny thing as well. I genuinely thought these units were going to be time limited. They aren't time limited at all. So you can get them at a later point when they're not on permanent, not, you know, when they update the banner gacha. Basically, they're gonna add these guys into that, so you don't have to worry about not getting them right now, because you will inevitably pull 50 of them in the near future, right? That's at least how I perceive it. I always feel that way. But generally as well, if you don't have the right team for it either, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, honestly. It isn't worth it. It isn't worth it at all. You're gonna be suffering against other players anyways, right? And especially if you end up only getting like +2 or +3 of these units and you can't build the right team. It just doesn't work out like that. These guys will need your specific teams. Whereas with units like Fianna and stuff like that, you could throw them on any team and they would probably operate relatively well. These guys will need a little bit of cohesion. You will want to have the units to be able to survive and go first, because the thing is with magic units, you want to just try and debuff your opponents as much as possible in terms of their agility, boost up your own so that you will have the advantage overall going into the fight. You know, units like, you will need units like Ryulu from the anniversary, in all honesty. You want to have units like Sacred Flame Hestia, for example. I'm just throwing out a unit that gives agility on her assist skill, basically. So you want to have assists like that. It's very, very imperative. Now, I want to have a look at the last unit that I didn't mention, and is a single target unit. And it's, of course, Lafia, right? Lafia is the single target unit that we want to talk about. She's right here. Perfect. She's great. I think she's great. She is pretty darn strong in terms of her modifiers and her stats buff, and just the percentages in her numbers are fantastic. I think it's great. But the problem is, Lafia is a Earth unit. Now, there's not a lot of Earth single target units as far as I recall. You could probably, however, do something similar to what we do anyways for the light team, right? Where we basically just have a bunch of AoE light units and then go in, basically. You could do this something similar with that, you know, maybe run like Elmina. Heck, you could probably run Aizen Mikoto even, I would say. You could probably run Aizen Mikoto as well. They could work as in terms of this running a Record Buster team. But I personally feel that's a little bit of a stretch. Again, she's great, but I think that she is missing a couple of members that will help her out, you know, just flourish completely. Again, it's a bit harder to just judge Record Buster units because the meta changes quite often, I feel, when it comes to Record Buster. And especially because if you look at Record Buster, right, let me go and do one run on Record Buster. It doesn't matter if I waste a run or two here. I mean, I still have 5 more runs. I can make the video for the Record Buster run later on as well. I'm just gonna go in like this right now. Just see what happens here, basically. So skip that. The story is the same. They keep Gareth keeps saying the same stuff. Don't really care. But if you were to look at Gareth right now, right, once he's done doing his shenanigans, you will probably see some weaknesses in Gareth, basically. So let's look at it right now, right? So he's got an inherent resist down for magic and earth, as you guys can see, and he's also got a light res, so they definitely want you to summon on these banners and not use the anniversary units. Again, another showing of what is exactly happening in the game. So you have to keep that in mind. Bear it in mind that, you know, Record Buster right now will be amazing for Lafia, but in future Record Busters she may not shine the same. So I would say be wary on that. I would say it is a little bit iffy going into these banners. Again, like I said, you may not have enough iris. If you do and you have the teams to rock these units in, be my guest, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's a smart idea at all at this point in time for a non-paying player. But if you're a paying player, you have the right magic units, right, the right magic setup, you know, you have the right assist. Like, for example, you want to have another assist in here that's just like the Apollo, right? That's you know, if you go over here, you've got the Apollo right here. He's really good, right? He's amazing for physical units because he gives minus 25% res. You want to have this Hermes, basically, or Hermes, how would you pronounce it? But this Hermes, you want to have him. He's minus 25% magic resist, but he also gives you guys counter and guard rate, which is really imperative for the magic team. Again, like I said, survivability is the name of the game when it comes to these magic units, right? especially early on. You know, you want to try and have that going for you, especially when you're facing off against physical units, right? A couple of other assists that would be really decent is, I think there was one Hephaestus, if I recall correctly, or it was an Aina. 1 second, I'm gonna just scroll through this and see where it is, but I think there was like an Aina. This is an Earth Res down. She's also not necessarily a horrible option, right? Because you can get the counter rate down on your opponents as well as get the Earth Res. Really good option. As I said, the Ryulu as well down here, if I go over to the Ryulu, really good option because you're reducing your opponent's agility. Very important, right? Extremely important in my personal opinion. You could also run the Elpis over here, of course, right, to get that null physical attack, just to make sure you're going with that to be able to survive, right? Again, very, very important. So there are a couple of these assists that I would say are very good and very strong and help out tremendously, right? It's going to be handy having these units in your team, but again, it's just like, you need to have these set of units. If you don't have these set of units, I would not recommend summoning on these banners, as much as they may seem, you know, tempting because they're, well, swimsuit unit banners. I wouldn't say that these units are a great option to go for, to gun for, if you're especially a free-to-play player. Now, like I said, if you have the units and stuff like that and you're a magic user, I think these units might become a game changer, especially for the meta. You know, you don't have to run that Ryu basically, because the thing is, this Eyes, right, this Eyes on the left, she also technically replaces, in a way, she kind of replaces the Ryu, right, the adventurer Ryu. If we go over here to the Ryus, this Ryu, right, she basically does null physical and magic attack. She does that for both magic and physical, but what the Eyes does is only null physical attack, which can seem a little bit worse than this Ryu, right, because this Ryu only does for both magic and physical. But in my opinion, my personal opinion, your threats will come from physical units more so as a magic unit, more so as a magic unit, right? So I would say that is actually much better than anything else. Also, apologies for that. You're gonna see a bit of a blurriness on your screen. But there we go, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up there. There's my thoughts. I don't think you should be summoning on these banners because of you know, just how much iris you may have coming in from the anniversary and stuff like that, plus the fact that they're not time limited. But if you do run magic, or you run earth, or, you know, you're very much into like ailment potentially and you want that Mikoto, these are great options. These are fantastic options even, I would say. But just be wary when you're summoning, alright guys? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below what did you guys think, of course, of this video. And subscribe to the channel to see more Danmachi content. It's been Gale, right? Signing out. Bye-bye, guys.